Okay, hello. Welcome back to whatever this is. No one knows yet, and I'm not sure if we will. We're gonna do a little, oh my god. We're gonna do a wrap up of everything that I've read so far this year. And yes, it's only 6 books. To correct this, I filmed this video so long ago. I have read 2 other books. If we're going up until end of May when I'm editing this, even though I filmed it, I think end of April, I have read 8.5. Realistically, I don't understand how people are reading like 100 books a year, thus doing like 25 in the first 3 months. Like, I think that's, I don't understand it. I'm gonna go in order if I could remember it. I've read 6 books. They are all relatively thin. I was trying to change up the genre of thing that I read this year. So I did buy like 12 books on January 1st. And how many of these are part of that? 2? Just 2? Some of them I bought after, and I just bought another like 4. I need to stop. I can't be stopped, but I really should be stopped. I actually started the midnight shift at the end of last year. I literally finished it on like January 1, but I'm counting it because when I finished it is what matters. We have Ballad of Jaquette Delahaye, Automatic Noodle, Men Explain Things to Me, Pierre Nessie, and Hijab Butch Blues. And I'm currently reading, what the hell am I reading? What is the book actually called? All the Painted Stars. Oh my god, wait, is this a series?
A Vow Made Twice, I finished in a singular day.
Wait, hold up. This says number 2. I think the first book is about her gay brother.
I am having a really hard
time. Oh my god.
Okay,
I definitely want to read that next. Let's start with The Midnight Shift. This is a Korean novel, Korean vampire novel, in case this wasn't giving that away for you. That got translated into English, I think August of last year. I had just been waiting around until I found it easily accessible. I took it on my trip, and obviously like anyone who takes a book on a trip, you don't really read it. It's like a vampire detective novel. There is an elderly hospital and people keep dying from the roof. I'm not gonna say jumping, but like from the roof. They see them on the ground and then they look up and go, well, it must be the roof where they came from. And things are a little weird. Our main character has a grandmotherly figure who lives there, makes it personal, and meets a mysterious woman. This is a queer vampire novel, and I think there was just a disconnect between me and her. I think sometimes when you're reading a work that's originally in another language, you are losing a large part of the story. Translation, of course, is incredible. It's incredible what this translator did, but there's absolutely things that I'm missing by not being able to read or understand the Korean language. I think that might be part of what me and this book missed together, and I think that there might be something about this kind of genre. I think maybe that there's a genre disconnect. I found this book quite boring. Not a lot happened for being, you know, it's not a tiny book. A lot was left for us to think about. Was never explained. It references lots of things in the past that don't fully get a finish. Like, there is someone important to the main character, and it's definitely some kind of tragedy, but to this day, we don't really know what happened to her. 70 pages till the end is where it actually got pretty interesting, but again, that is like 200 and whatever pages of... It is, at best, vaguely a vampire novel. There is a small portion of vampire in this. And I think coming off of my, oh my god, I love Interview with the Vampire on AMC, I was expecting more vampire. Similar to that one V.E. Schwab book, which I hate. Strong word, strongly dislike. This was definitely better than that. Nothing is going down. We are walking, we are researching, we are in a car. The questions of humanity, like most vampire novels touch, I would say are the most interesting. There's a lot of questions in italics that happen between 2 of the characters. It's a lot of questioning loneliness, what that means to a human, how someone handles that, what it creates in them. There's a lot of lonely women in this. I gave this 3 stars because I thought that it was well written enough that I finished it. It had really nice questions, like nice, they're pretty sad. It was thought-provoking about humanity, but I don't think that it served being the kind of detective vampire novel. It says, a bestseller in Korea, a biting, fast-paced vampire murder mystery exploring queer love and the consequences of loneliness. I would say the only thing true about this is vampire consequences of loneliness. None of the other stuff you're really going to get in the way that I would say I'm used to. So part of me is saying maybe it is a genre difference, how genres change based on where in the world and the societies built around them they are cooked up in. So I would say always read a queer vampire novel. This is better than the V.E. Schwab book. So there's your baseline of where to go from there. Next, I read The Ballad of Jacquette Delahaye, which I didn't know until I read the author's note. I don't know pirate stories. Like when the gay pirate show came out, I didn't know who he was. Why would I know? I just got into vampires like 2 years ago. I'm really behind on the very niche thing of pirates. I read this entire book not knowing that there is a tale of this person. This is a sort of historical reimagining of the very short, very brief tale of Jacquette Delahaye, inputting a mixed race black woman into this story, embedding it fully within the transatlantic slave trade, colonization, imperialism of many places. I love a historical fiction novel where the author is taking agency, one, away from the people who stole it and giving it to the people who had no agency. Because we know how women, black women, were treated back then. Sometimes can't even imagine how a queer black woman would have been treated back then. It would be devastating. And this is giving a woman literally the power to do whatever she wants. Within a historical context, I always find those to be very intriguing. I'm like one of 3 dudes on earth who love historical fiction. I love writing it. I love reading it. You don't find it very often. So I was very intrigued when I saw this book and I picked her up. I was most intrigued when I read Jacquette and her band. Oh my God, it's a band of thieves? It's a group of people? I was like, this is like Pirate Six of Crows, but gay ladies. However, I had many thoughts. So I gave this book a 3-star review. I did really enjoy it. I would legitimately recommend this to people, especially if you like historical fiction, because it's written so well. I said it when I first read it. The prologue of this book is insane. This is this author's debut novel. This prologue is so, when they told you to write a hook in your English class, your language class, like writing, this author listened. Unfortunately, I do think the prologue of this book is miles ahead of the rest of it. It is really hard being inside of one character's head when I am supposed to care for everyone in the book. It's pirates, people die, people get injured, we lose characters, we lose faith in our characters. And I felt almost none of that. I also felt nothing for the romance in this, because maybe it's because I think that there should always be some kind of, dare I say, slow burn, and you start this book immediately. They already know each other. They have already done something. There's no building of tension. They like each other, and there's no consequences. There's nothing. It's just there in the background, and it never really gets touched on. And I just feel like the queer aspects of this, whoosh, to the back. It's not developed as well as I would have liked. All of the other characters, like literally everyone, including the love interest, I would say aren't developed. Aren't. Period. They don't feel like fleshed out characters. I don't know much about them. And then when we get to where the prologue, because it's one of those things where like we start on an intense scene that's actually at the end of the book, and then we flip back a year before. When we get to the prologue scene in the end, it's like written differently in a way where actually 2 different things happen. And in a way where when you go back and you reread the prologue, it doesn't feel as earned, because we know that there was like no growth in character bonding or development between our main character Jacquette and her love interest, or her crew, or anyone. Part of my thing was I thought an easy way to get around that was to flip between some points of view. Now, like, you don't have to go between all of the crew, but there is at least a solid 3 or 4 people that we could be changing between to make this feel more earned. Why we care so much about people if they die. Obviously they're humans, so we care that they die, but we don't see why she loves these people. Somehow we don't see that, and it's only in her head. Her development, I don't know. She doesn't feel like she's changed a lot throughout the book, and dare I say, we get a lot of, we need to go do this thing to fix the ship, to go raid these boats to get to our final destination. Next chapter, and we raided them and we're here. We were told a lot and shown very little. Could have been 2 books. Could have put more points of view, made them both a little longer, and split up the story into 2 sections, and I think would have saved everyone from being a stagnant character. But I still enjoyed it. That sounds like really negative, but I still enjoyed it. I would still tell people to read it. A little interesting that they really don't care that like women, not disguised, are on pirate ships. Maybe that's just a really wrong assumption about pirates of the past, but every pirate media is like, ladies on ships were a curse, throw her overboard. And that doesn't happen at all. We also weren't set up on the pirate rules, and I was confused. Next, very different. Third book I read was Automatic Noodle. This is a book set in some kind of, not really dystopian, like maybe we'll end up there, future of the United States where California has become its own country after a war with the rest of the US. And in this world, at some point, we don't really know when, we don't really know how, I don't think it's needed, at some point, humans have made sentient robots. Now, we're gonna get into the discourse about this book that I preface, I don't know anything about this author, I don't know what they have said about AI, specifically generative and its environmental impacts, but this book is not talking about AI. If it were talking about AI, we would have an even worse situation on our hands in the present day than we already do with AI. These are sentient, soul-having robots. Humans created a way to give robots souls, and we made them enslaved. That is the basic premise of the war and the state of what the non-California US thinks of robots. Now, of course, people in California still think pretty poorly of robots. Now, I gave this book a 4-star. It was short, sweet, and in my opinion, pretty good. We follow this group of restaurateur people. In this case, I'm saying people for the robots. I will say human when I reference the one human in this book. They essentially, originally, were hired or contracted to work for a ghost kitchen. And it seems like the ghost kitchen shut down. They just wake up one day because, spoiler alert, the government and these companies still have control over their bodily autonomy. Nasty shit. But they wake up and discover that the restaurant is closed or something weird, and then we follow them through how they figure out themselves how they can run a restaurant. So there's a lot of allusions between these sentient, intelligent people and how the United States government has treated many groups over time. Black people, immigrants, we can go through the list of the immigrants from the 1860s until now that have each been classified by the US government as lesser than human until they sucked them into white supremacy. So Polish people, Irish people, Italian people, of course, indigenous people across the entirety of the United States history and until now and probably in the foreseeable future. It's clearly commenting on the way that maybe not just white supremacy, but the US structure has always chosen someone to enslave in some way, someone to give human rights but make them a second-class citizen. One of these robots is a woman. The concept of a woman, what humans have put onto her. One of my only qualms with this book is I wish she was more developed in the same way that the non-female presenting other intelligence is given. She has a backstory that I think you can imagine a person created to resemble a woman in the way a cis-het society imagines a woman. Her backstory, maybe we don't want to read because we see the backstory of everyone else, but her, we don't fully get it, and it references a few times what was done to her. There's a conversation between Sweetie and Stay Behind, and he references something that happened in her past that we don't know. And I don't know if there is a tactful way to go about writing what happened. Again, imagine what a human would do to her. They are already essentially enslaving these people. Imagine what they would do to a woman in that situation. There must have been a way, I think, to give us a little bit more, because it leaves the only woman to be a little more underdeveloped than everyone else. The only other thing is, I do think if you have never been to San Francisco, you're gonna have no idea where this takes place. You're just not gonna know. I mean, clearly this is San Francisco. This is like, the author, I believe, lives in San Francisco, maybe is from there, at least that's their home. It felt like a love letter to San Francisco at some parts, and I just, like, I've never been there, so I have no idea what we're talking about. Like, I don't know what areas, like, you could tell me about the bay, and I would be like, okay, the body of water and the big bridge. That's all I got. Okay, anyway, there was a good amount of discourse that I saw about this book, about what it means, about what the author's thoughts on AI are, and again, as I said earlier, I don't actually know the author's specific views on generative AI, what's happening to our environment with AI. Like, I don't follow them. I didn't know anything about them before I read this book. There are reviews. You can go and find them on Goodreads. It's very interesting. Where people clearly, like, strongly, and I would say, like, are hurt. Knowing what they believe to be true, that this book is advocating for generative AI, which is antithetical to the entire story, considering we're talking about our AI at present. And let me repeat in the same intense way I have said over and over again in this section, soul-having people. They have the human concept of a soul. This isn't ChatGPT come to life in a robot form. These are people. How do I put this? We would have a very different issue on our hands. That at present, humans are enslaving a new race of existence. Obviously, we'd be concerned about everything we're concerned about with AI. Environment, water use, poisoning people literally all over the place. Texas for one, gosh darn it. Stealing artists' work, just lowering the brain development of humans in general. If you are literally just thinking about it in an AI equals robot, which is not true. That's not true in this book. One, sci-fi, not real. Not a real book, not a real situation. Well, I mean, it's a real book. I have it in my hands, but you know what I mean. This is a fiction novel about sentient people running a restaurant with thoughts and feelings. AI does not have thoughts and feelings. If it did, we would be enslaving a race of people, right? You could say I'm wrong. You could talk to me about it in the comments if anyone's there. Hello. We are so far from being able to create the kind of sentience that these people have. And if we already had, oh my God, we are in big trouble ethically. In a different way than we already are. That's this book. I really think everyone should read it. It's quick. It is somehow feel good and politically very intense. Okay, next, a collection of essays. You thought I was only reading fiction this year. You were wrong. This is Men Explain Things to Me. I thought this was okay. I don't have a lot to say about this. Let me read you my Goodreads review. Some essays, you know, some felt like, yes, I know this, and others felt more impactful. I'd say read it, question mark? 4 stars. It is a collection of essays. It starts with the essay entitled Men Explain Things to Me, which, as you can imagine, is about men explaining things to this woman. Hey, anyone raised under misogyny, listen up. You've experienced this and you probably don't need an essay telling you about it. This essay also before 2010, in a time where talking about this was not as present constantly as it is now. I grew up in a time post when this original essay was going around online, when I became a tween and a teenager, and this was already talked about. My mom and I would talk about this. I would talk about this with my friends. I could understand this book being more impactful for someone of an older audience who didn't grow up with things like this setting the precedent for how we think. At some point, Me Too is discussed. The concept and conception of it, not just in like 2017, but what led to it. I just existed when that happened. I didn't predate that. I came to knowledge and my thoughts forming as a teenager while that occurred. I think I gave this book I think I already said it, a 4-star. It's interesting. Like, that's all I gotta say. Next is Piranesi. Dare I say, my favorite book I've read so far this year. It's only 6 books, but my first 5-star review of the year. I love a mythological book. And this, doesn't she look mythological to you? This follows Piranesi in their home, and it's just a bunch of goddamn rooms. It's just a bunch of rooms. He has immense knowledge of this place in terms of what rooms are where, the tides, the seasons, the animals where they live, things like that, and sections them off in journal entries. There was another singular other person in this house, and Piranesi kind of creates this mythos. This other is working with Piranesi to research something called the Great and Secret Knowledge. As he explores, he finds what the blurb says is a terrible truth, and it begins to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one Piranesi has always known. This starts pretty slow. I should also note that I was reading it at like 1 a.m. every day, so I cannot guarantee you that everyone would feel that way. I was just sleepy. Susanna Clarke, girl, you wrote the fuck out of this book. I'm going to read you part of my review. I think what works so well here is Clarke's writing. There's a lot of showing, not telling in this book by nature of reading the journals and finding letters. Reading is a huge part of how we learn. But these journals don't feel like being told. It feels like we become immersed in these sections just as the main character does. You fight with them in your head because you know something is wrong, but they can't seem to understand yet until we get to the big question. We all know if you've read. Don't even get me started on the flood. Oh my God, the flood scene. That entire section of the book was a non-stop. Do not put the book down. You are experiencing something important. It was a moment for me. I think this was just what I needed, just what fiction needed, somehow incorporating new and modern concepts and devices without being obnoxious. Somehow. Oh my God, I was like on my feet. I was running. I was about to be in a flood, God damn it. To a greater extent, not just the writing, how we're talking about humanity and what it means to need people and what knowledge is and what it means to care for someone. This is just a deeply human book that is written so well. I literally can't say anything else. It was so good. Please read it. And the last book that I read in Q1, in our business meeting conclusion, was Hijab Butch Blues. This is a memoir about the life of, dare I say, Hijab Butch Blues. This takes place over the course of this person's life. We see them in a lot of different places, like literally we see them in a few different countries, and we see them in a few different situations. It's almost like it's a book. Oh wow, we see them in a different situation. We see how situations in this person's life unfolded to give them the life they have now. The final line of this book is it's so simple, it's so beautiful. When you see the things that this person has internalized, how we start, how dark and devastating some of the thoughts that they have are, and then you land on, this is the world 14-year-old me couldn't even begin to imagine. I'm already here. Shut up, 5 stars. Like, what the fuck do you mean? I mean, I know what you mean. I read your book and it was beautiful. It's so human. And if you're queer and you love learning about other humans and how they have experienced life, then you really get to do that with this. It's wonderful. Go read it. And that's it. Those are the books that I've read so far this year. It's only 6. My goal is 30. Last year was 25 and I accomplished it. That's all. Those are my books. It's what I've read. I really enjoyed them. I like reading about people and humanity and feelings. What it means to be human, you know? My battery died. I am now recording my outro over here with my random shit in the back. That is all. You can find me elsewhere. You can watch my last video about Timothée Chalamet. You can not, if you don't wanna, by other people on the internet. Get off your phone. the people they've already sucked and fucked. No, sorry.